TV, and
Okay.
I've got a good friend of mine here, Mr. Wally Dean, who is the keeper of the Ashes of Hope.
Indeed.
Could you tell us a little bit about Wally Hope, Dean? Because I know there's just been a film made about him, hasn't there?
Yeah, no, we've been involved in a whole film project. This young fella came to us, Paolo. He came to us a couple of years ago and sort of, as many people do, sort of said, I want a bit of information on Wally Hope. We gave him some of the information, and he went off and he's come up with a really half a good film.
Excellent.
And we're taking it out there and we're sort of organising more interviews. He's recently done interviews with members of CRAS, recently done interviews with the solicitor who defended the Wallies in 1974. To give you the background of the story, Wally Hope, or Phil Russell as he was truly known, was a mover in the free festival movement back in the early days of Windsor, etc. He was a bit pissed off by some of the things he saw at Windsor, like people being taxed because they wanted to take food wagons in there and sell hot dogs, ice creams, that sort of thing. And he wanted it to be freer and that. And he'd had a vision and he wanted to go to Stonehenge and set up a festival there. So he went down and he saw a couple of members of a band called Exit, who would later end up being a band called Crass. And Penny and G were living in a small arts sort of base commune with no locks on the door. It was an open door commune, and that Wally would go down there and he
Is that Dial House?
Dial House in Essex. And he went there and he said, I've got an idea for doing this festival on the land. He said he believed that Stonehenge was a people's place and that it had been stolen off of us by the government, etc. And so therefore we had a right to go and party there. So we got a little festival together and they ran close to that Dial House. Got maybe 800 people
at the
there.
time Stonehenge wasn't what it is now, is it? You know what I mean? It was just something in the middle of nowhere that they actually thought, well, we're not going to harm anybody here, we're not going to bother anybody here, because it was, you know.
This is what we thought, and this is what was thought. But something that's come up through the research is that Andy Kerr, who then formed, the Solstice Capers and set off the Glastonbury 1971 festival, his first site had been Stonehenge. He wanted his festival at Stonehenge.
Right.
He actually had Jimi Hendrix to agree to play Stonehenge. But then the MOD told him it wasn't a good place to have a festival because it's really close to Porton Down, which is a military chemical warfare training establishment. It's right near Old Sarum, which is a military psychological exercises plant. And then it's just down the road from Lark Hill, which is a very dark place. And so, interesting thing with Lark Hill, it's the place where the man from V for Vendetta had all the experiments done on him. Interesting, but probably irrelevant. But anyway, so he has a festival there at Stonehenge. Maybe 800 people come, etc. But he's buoyed up by it. It's a free festival. Only one band plays, a band called Zorch. But he's really happy. He's had a free festival on the field at Stonehenge. Now he talks people to stay there at Stonehenge, saying that the experience is to live in the landscape. And he gets 30 people to carry on living there. And he's there for a few months, and the Department of the Environment take him to court and say, you can't live here, you can't have a festival here. And he's in court. And all right, we lose the case, but he comes out of the case and he says, we've won. And they said, yeah, but the judge said you lost. And he said, no, the judge said we're 100% good people. And we've made friends. We've made friends with the judges, we've made friends with lawyers. And what more can you want in life than to go out and make friends? And they asked him, well, what are you going to do about your camp at Stonehenge? And what they did is they went back to Stonehenge and they moved 10 yards across a fence and started the whole process again. Now the Department of Environment were quite annoyed by this. The site carried on there, and around the end of 1974 it tapered out. Some of the Wallies got a squat going in Amesbury, the nearest town, but plans were underway for the next festival. Now he went down there in May 1975 to start setting up the 75 festival, went to see the Wallies at the squat, started off the Secular Order of Druids with his close friend Tim Sebastian on Beltane 1975. 4 days later he was arrested. He's taken into prison, and after 5 days he complains that his prison uniform is making him itch. But he was on remand. There's no way he should have been wearing a prison uniform, it wasn't compulsory. So he goes on parade, says it's making him itch, they send him to a psychiatrist. Now this psychiatrist has already worked out that he goes by the name of Phil Russell and Wally Hope. So as he walks into the doctor's office, the doctor says to him, am I dealing with Wally or am I dealing with Philip? And without Wally saying many words, he was diagnosed as schizophrenic, having two personalities. He was stuck in the hospital at Winchester, and he was massively overdosed on Largactil, haloperidol, Semtrex, and various other drugs that they were trying on. Liquid koshed him. Yeah. He ended up going to court, totally off of his face, not being able to string a sentence together, and they sent him for an indefinite section at the Old Manor Hospital in Salisbury, and there they carried on overdosing him. I mean, to give you an idea of the overdosing, the recommended daily dose for Largactil is 75 milligrams. They were giving him 200 milligrams a day. He comes out of hospital, strangely enough, 2 days after the last people leave the festival site, because the 75 site still happens. The 75 festival is bigger than the 1974 gathering, but Wally's not there. So, 2 days after the festival, he's released and he manages to make his way back to Doghouse, but he's still heavily sedated. He ends up with this condition which is called chronic dyskinesia. So many psychiatric drugs have been fed into his system that his brain had difficulty communicating with his nervous system. He ended up not being able to walk straight. He was not able to talk well. But the people at Doghouse fed him, they detoxed him, they got him onto ginseng, they got rid of all his medications, and by August he was good enough to join the tribe again. He went to Watchfield. Now, Watchfield was a government-sanctioned festival given to us so that we didn't party in the Queen's back garden. Windsor 74 had ended up in a massive fight between the police and the freaks. So they didn't want us anywhere near Windsor Castle. So they gave us a government-sanctioned site. But intelligence services had 350 officers on that site gathering information on the rise of LSD and also subversive elements in the festival. Now, Wally Hope and Chris Waite did a speech, and in that speech Wally Hope said that he still intended to buy land near Stonehenge for a permanent festival, and he was coming into £42,000, which in 1976 would have been enough to buy 8 or 9 farms. So he was a threat to society. 4 days later he's found dead on the floor in the kitchen of the doctor's where he's staying. The back door's mysteriously open. At his first coroner's report, he has a needle mark on the top of his arm, and the man is pronounced dead through suicide. But they knew he wouldn't use needles, but they suggested that he had died of an overdose of Welderm, and this was after 6 months of inquiries. The doctor who done the autopsy was still 18 years later writing to that chemical company saying, I don't believe that he ingested these pills. The only way he could have died of that overdose is had it been injected into his bloodstream. Now that, my friends, is a very encapsulated story, which is a very complicated story. It involves British intelligence, British counterculture, the whole LSD movement. And to be honest, my friends, I'm starting to look at a situation where hippie, punk, dance have all been psyops against us to take us away from protest, take us away from reclaiming our power, get us into fields, munted out of our faces. I don't drink special brew. I do Class A's maybe 3 times a year, and I'll do it because I have a spiritual need to have a question answered. We've got to reevaluate our attitude towards drinking, towards alcohol, towards the money we're wasting on these toxicants that are only making money for the government that we're saying we want to bring down. Yet we're fucking holding them up, mate. And we've got to start saying no. Stonehenge is a good place for that. It's a microcosm in a macrocosm, and the masses of people that gather there. I mean, 7,000 at this year's winter solstice has broken all records that we've ever known. And the movement is growing. It is seen as a portal of freedom. And if we can keep that going, if we can keep it free and re-establish our festival, which is our aim, because English Heritage want to cut down on alcohol, want to start charging for parking, it's not on. It's the people's place. No matter whether you're religious, no matter whether you're an anarchist, whether you're a Hare Krishna, if you want to come there and you want to come there with love, please come. We want to see you, each and every one. Occupy Stonehenge 2016.
He's
a
Wally.
I say this once or twice.
He's a Wally. I'm a Wally.
We're all Wallies.
You're a Wally. We're all Wallies.
There's a movie out there, everyone's a Wally. If you get a chance, if you see it anywhere in an art centre, or if you've got an art centre and you want a film on, get in touch with Wally Dean through Facebook, and we'll bring you a film, we'll bring you a talk, and we'll blow your brains. Thank you, good night. I love you, Wallies.
Thank you, Wally.
Doghouse, a true Wally. Thank you, darling.
Thank you, mate. That was brilliant. Very successful.